Hello, I'm Gwen, pronouns are she, her, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. This show draws on the experience and play of the Open Hearth Gaming Community. We're an online RPG gaming group which has a lot of different kinds of games and gaming. Story games, OSR, solo, and more. I'll mention as well that we use safety tools for all play in the community because sometimes that pisses people off, and I love their salty tears. Now, as usual, we've brought a pair of amazing community members on to discuss their recent gaming and drill down on one RPG they've played, read, or watched. So, Jex, Mads, please introduce yourselves. Let's go ahead and start with Jex, if you're all right.
Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Jex. I use they, them pronouns. I am the designer of a game called Bump in the Dark, and I am excited to be here.
Wonderful to have you. I love Bump in the Dark. And Mads.
Hi, I'm Mads, they, them pronouns, and I have a actual play channel on YouTube, Madeline Colley, where I have played a lot of games, played and run a lot of games, and I really love this community for just its sense of gaming and then just resourcing and all this kind of stuff that we enjoy about games and the geekery that ensues. So, yay.
100% agree, and I will second going and checking out Mads' YouTube channel because I played a couple of wonderful games with them, both of Trophy and Going for Broke was so much fun.
Oh, that was such a great mini-series. Holy cow.
So highly recommend. All right, so we are going to go around and have everyone tell us and our audience about how their recent gaming has gone, what they've been playing, what they have coming up, and then talk to us about a particular game that they want to kind of go deep on. Jex, do you want to start it up?
Yeah, sure. So I actually haven't been doing a ton of gaming recently. I recently, within the last couple months, wrapped up a years-long Bump in the Dark campaign that started well before the game was published. Technically, it was 2 campaigns, but they're kind of interrelated. And so I've just kind of had a hole in my gaming life recently. But I have gotten some really cool stuff in the mail I'm excited about getting to the table at some point. Stone Top, the new Wild Sea expansion, the Tribes 8, Tribes in the Dark kind of reboot, Defy the Gods, Cosmic Dark Hedge, all that stuff is really great. I guess I have been gaming a little bit, that I've played a lot of the Alien Fate of the Nostromo board game recently. I have an 8-year-old and she loves playing it, so probably thematically not quite appropriate, but it's okay. It's a really fun game. It's a cooperative game, so I really enjoy it.
I love that. Do you want to tell us about a specific game you'd like to talk about today?
Yeah, so I would like to talk about Blades 68 because I am kind of obsessed with it right now. Blade 68 takes the setting of Blades in the Dark, it projects it about 100 years forward into the swinging 60s. So instead of this sort of Victorian haunted city, it is this like kind of 1960s London mod, very colorful place, which is, quite a bit different than the original Duskfall of Blades in the Dark. And I really love it. I just started running a campaign of it, and I got to play in a very brief campaign of it previously. And I really love so much about it. I love the setting. I'm a big fan of Blades in the Dark. I hacked it for my own game. The setting is cool, but it's also like not the setting I usually want to play in, right? Like it's just sort of not the tone I usually go for. And this is much closer to that. I like that it feels a little more modern. I like that it's a little bit more kind of campy and sci-fi, which is really fun, but can still do those sort of haunted kind of stories. There's a lot of really smart little like quality of life improvements to Blades in the Dark. Just things like procedures that flow a little bit more naturally. Things like having an actual like part of the game where you sit down and plan things together, like what kinds of scores you want to do. And that's really fun. And it's also just like the character playbooks and the crew playbooks are really colorful in terms of like having a lot of like really good like character stuff, really smart mechanics, has just a lot of fun ideas. And not most importantly, but very importantly, it is also just beautiful. The book is gorgeous. The graphic design is incredible. It comes with a giant map that's made to look like like one of those road maps. You can get it like a gas station, and it's huge. And it just has all this kind of cool stuff. It has a deck of business cards for all the factions. Tim Denay, the designer, I feel like it's like him getting a chance to geek out on all the stuff that he likes to geek out about, which is just really fun to see, to get to play in a game that you can tell the designer was like really passionate about and just like really putting 100% into. So yeah, that's been my kind of game of the moment, Blade 68. Excited to keep playing more of it, keep running more of it.
I wanted to ask a follow-up, if that's all right, Jex.
Yeah,
So I backed it. I haven't received my copy yet because I moved and it went to my American address, so it's being shipped. But I've been told that, and you can see some of this in some of the playtest material that was released, but that they talk about the touchstones and they say there's like Austin Powers is like the touchstone that will not be named or something. And I mean, I just wanted to know, like, how do you feel about if you wanted to play it that campy? I mean, can you play an Austin Powers game with it?
Yeah, I think you can go super campy. Like it
Okay.
really, the tone range that it can accommodate is really broad. I mean, there's still going to be, certain assumptions. There are ghosts, which are now called resonance entities because we live in an age of science.
Okay.
And there's spies and there's guns and there's, but like I think that you can go pretty silly with it. Our campaign has been a little bit more down the middle, not super dark, but not goofy. But yeah, I really think that maybe not all the way to Austin Powers, but you can get a good chunk of the way there. You could probably get 3/4 of the way to Austin Powers.
Okay. So you could do like James Bond to Austin Powers or
sure.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E. or something,
Yeah, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was another touchstone. Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. Mads, did you want to add anything?
I did get the game, and I have not had a chance to delve into. I didn't get the very beautiful book that Jex was holding. I got the standard copy, but even so, I mean, like, it looks wonderful, and I've heard some really great things about it. Just haven't had a chance to crack it open yet, but I've heard that it's a wonderful improvement to how the original Blades is set up. So, I mean, like, I'm curious to see how that goes because I've always been scared of like doing Blades in the Dark myself in terms of running it. I want to play it first because it seems like, as it was described to me once, it was described as a whole bunch of different gears going at once, and you have to just try to keep the gears moving and, knowing how to keep them all moving at the same time. It's like, yeah, I'm not up to that challenge yet.
I think that there's a way that that's true, and also I think there's a way that there's only one gear. Right? Like it's really a game that collapses on itself really gracefully. And I think that you can start with the one gear very easily and then kind of start adding others in. And I think Blade 68 makes that even easier. And a lot of it's just like clarifying. Like I think there's stuff that Blades in the Dark are the intended rules that the book doesn't say because it's just not communicated. I think, I can't speak for John Harper, obviously, but I think that there are probably things that like, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know when you're communicating your play style, how much that's going to translate to other tables, right?
That's true. That's very true.
But yeah, it definitely can be like that, where there's all these gears, all these plates spinning. But I think you can start with one gear pretty easily.
Well, your game, like Bump in the Dark, obviously is like a Forged in the Dark base. So, I mean, you have an understanding of like some of the things that are included in, in the original, like resistance and position and effect and all that kind of stuff. But I think they've improved upon that language in 68. So
for some of that stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that sounds like it's again, a cool improvement. So I'm looking forward to going over it for sure.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, me too, definitely. Well, thank you, Jex. That was fascinating. I too can't wait to dive into that. Mads, what about you? What have you been playing?
Yeah, real life gets in the way, especially this year. I just want 2026 the ride to just pause a little so I can get the hell off. But before things went weird, I finished a mini-series playtest of Good Society, the second edition, about a month ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a really cool run. Oh my gosh. It was the first time I've ever run Good Society ever. So I'm like, oh my God, this is I'm so glad. And I appreciate my table because they were all very patient with me for continually having to look up the rules and just make sure I was doing it okay. Because I've played Good Society and some of its hacks multiple times, but I mean, of course, it's like, being on the other side of the table is a completely different experience, as it would be, And then I've appeared on ZealZaddy's Twitch channel on his Paper Bag RPG show, which is an absolute hilarious riot if anybody ever gets a chance to do so. I've run as a GM on the show as well as now a player. So I've been on both sides of the table, which is great. It's like such improvised hilarity and challenge and just, it's just wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. Your mouth is open, Gwen. It's like, are you all right?
It's one of those worlds colliding. When I lived in Miami before transition 6 or 7 years ago, I was on ZealZaddy's like first ever show, I think.
Awesome.
We started playing Esper Genesis, which is like a sci-fi riff on D&D. And yeah, I was on his first show. I've stayed intermittently in contact with him. Yeah, I hadn't, I didn't know. That's super cool.
No, it's very awesome. The world is small and very large at the same time. It's wonderful to see, like, who knows who and who's connected to whom. Let's see, what else have I played? Played in one-shots of Xenia Wonder Tales, Grand Guignol, 1 Year Hence, and have been in many mini-series of Under Hollow Hills, The King is Dead, and in Dreaming Avalon. And I just started another series of Midnight of the Century with Dunna and Lowell, which is amazing. Yeah, I am very lucky. I will admit that. I'm like in a very lucky position to be in that game. Holy cow. I'll describe that later, for what gives me life right now. I was originally going to talk about a game that I was starting to read, but I figured since I haven't read it through thoroughly, I feel like it's unfair to try and describe it because I haven't played it and I haven't really read through. So to deep dive, I want to kind of do more of a comparative, I guess, to the Firebrand system. So if anybody that's not familiar, the Firebrand system is based on the Baker's original game, Mobile Frame Zero. And it's based on, like, the structure of the gameplay is essentially you have the premise, you build your characters, and then you just go off and running where each person takes a turn in picking a mini game to play, and the mini game does a particular thing. And usually these games will be strategic or emotional or both. And it's interesting when you play a game, regardless of premise, how the language kind of stays the same when you're looking at the structure of the mini games, when you're looking at the structure of, like, even just introducing the premise. Again, the language stays the same. Some of the games remain very similar. Like, there's always a game, usually, called Stealing Time Together or Time Together. And that's with playing with a single partner and being, like, more intimate per se. And it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic intimate or sexy intimate or anything like that. It could just be like, where you're trying to have a meeting of the minds depending on the premise. And so, like, recently played, again, The King is Dead, and in Dreaming Avalon, like, kind of works off of Firebrand system. And a few months ago, I also ran several series of you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave, based on the Hotel California songs and stuff like that. But very creepy. I ran it as like a series that was all interconnected. Everybody shared the map and also kind of shared the character keeper to kind of show some kind of continuity, even though it's a very surreal type of situation. So anyway, yeah, I mean, with Firebrands, and then my first introduction to Firebrands was Hearts of Magic, which is very faction based. So each person played like one of a faction, like a witch, a scholar, and then or a soldier, and then like somebody else played like a part of the like royalty or fae, or I can't remember exactly what it was. And then Once More Into the Void. I mean, like my absolute fave, of course, because it's by Ray. And that I've played multiple times and have always had an amazing emotional experience with it. But I mean, again, it doesn't necessarily have to be emotional. It could just be a wonderful, wonderful story that's built from everybody's characters just working together and going through each of the mini games and building upon what is there. So the characters start off, I think the characters always start off being broken in some way, right? I mean, like, they have a good trait, and then there's usually something that could be construed as good, but usually is kind of bad. And so, we play off of each other as we play the mini games and then create like our history with each other or the story as we are like making relationships and connections throughout the games. So like regardless of what Firebrand's game that I end up playing, I always feel like even if the characters have nothing in common to start with, I always feel like at the end of the series or two-shot or whatever the heck it is, I always feel like at least two of the characters, if not all the characters, have developed a relationship, even if it's adversarial, where something has affected them. And like, it doesn't even have to be tragic. It could just be like a soft thought, or like, I'm leaving this place and I'm taking part of you with me, whether that's positive or negative. I mean, like, and it's just that kind of game, and always starts with the beautiful writing of the Bakers. And I enjoyed that structure so much. And I'm very happy to have played, like, again, several of these types of games, and just like want to, delve into more. I mean, I know there's a collection on itch that, shows different games that are available done by other third parties. But again, like, those are some of the basic ones that I know about that I've played and had a ball, playing them. So
the first time I ever played a Firebrands game, well, the first time I played the original game, A Dance, just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it opened up for me so much of like what RPGs can be that I didn't even like realize. Like the first time like someone, another player turns to you, is like, my face is close to yours. Do you turn subtly towards me or subtly away? I'm just
yeah.
Is this an RPG? It's so good. It's so good. And that, like, yeah, the way conflict and intimacy sit so close together and intertwine is just really beautiful. And I love that so many of the kind of hacks have been able to maintain that feel, because to me that's what's really special about Firebrands, is that sort of like, way those intertwine.
Yeah. I mean, as you say, they are so intertwined. Like, even if you're fighting, like meeting sword to sword, I mean, like, it starts you off with doing a move, and then all of a sudden it's like, your mouth is near my ear. What do you say? And it's like, oh my God. And then somebody shocked the heck out of me when they said, I love you. And I was just like, yeah, my knight is taken aback and will draw backwards. That kind of shock. And it's wonderful when surprises like that happen, because you're like, what? So yeah, no, absolutely wonderful stuff.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I mean, I've only played Once More Into the Void and in Dreaming Avalon in a game with you, Matt.
Yeah.
And this was kind of curious. What I found is that, I mean, Once More Into the Void was so brilliantly set up to create relationship tension, but in Dreaming Avalon was so much lighter and more about romance and the back and forth of flirting, and it's about falling in love. That's what it says right up front. I mean, my goodness, one of the mini games is called, the jousting mini game. And you start by saying, like, how do you receive my lance?
you guys took it to a whole other level, which I absolutely appreciate. Bravo, props, kudos, whatever the heck it is. I mean, it's just beautiful.
I mean, do you find that, like, there's that much variety in those in the other forms of Firebrands games?
Yeah. No, it's very true, because I mean, like, the multiple times I've played Once More Into the Void, it always has turned out to be something very serious or weighted. And then, like, obviously towards the end, it's like, you can get into a lot of trouble because the cards aren't against you. You just like keep crossing your fingers and hope for the best, maybe expect the worst, and then you have other games that could be weighty in a different way, like The King is Dead, which is like, there's the king is dead, and then there's only the infant son, and so therefore the powerful houses of the court are trying to kind of battle it out and see who can kind of, seat themselves as regent. Even the house with the infant heir, I mean, like, that's not a guarantee either. So, I mean, like, there's some weight there. And then the one called Hearts of Magic, it seems innocuous when you're, when you're looking at the at the art. I mean, it's gorgeous art, don't get me wrong, but I mean, it just seems a lot lighter than it is. I mean, I remember the one time I played it where it got really serious, even though it started off very whimsical, because we really took the faction thing like very seriously, because the witches were against the soldiers and the soldiers were not working with the Fey royalty or what have you. And it was interesting because then at the end, we kind of left it on a cliffhanger where we all found out we were being played. And if we had gotten a chance to do more, it would have been so interesting to see what would have happened. So, yeah.
Fascinating. All right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, and this, again, like when we played You Can Check Out Anytime You Like, that could go anywhere. That could go like really surreal horror, which I did in certain respects, or it could go very whimsical, which it did in a different series. Like, so I did it three different series. So one of the series, like, was almost like the backstory of the characters, which were playing to find out what they were. Some people didn't even know what the backstory was until towards the end.
Oh, I love it.
And that's I love that stuff too. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I will definitely have to do more Firebrands games. I was really initially put off by the design because it's so structured, right? There's so much hard framing in each of those little mini games where they're even giving you dialogue to read at each other. And that was initially kind of counterintuitive to me in games. That's so much specific structure that I thought, well, what's that's going to be like? And I love it. So shows what I know.
And also, too, I mean, like, other people can interpret it differently. I mean, like, some people have played sword to sword, not as a full-on actual literal battle, sword to sword or weapon to weapon. They've played it with words. Like, how do you cut me, or how do you pull me in, or how do you, like, draw away, and all this kind of stuff. And, they can interpret it in that sense, but still get the same kind of feel. Because, when you're talking or when you're getting into an argument, sometimes you will draw closer or sometimes you will draw back. And, it's a physicality with, the discussion into conflict as well. So, I mean, I love it when I can see people reinterpret what they see and say, no, not quite. I mean, like when you guys did the joust in Dreaming Avalon, my God, I've never heard so many double entendres in one scene. Damn. It was beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
It was fun. Was it your interpretation or was it T or somebody that reinterpreted the marriage description for the Fae as a day and a night and a day between two nights or something?
Oh, I can't remember, but I mean, that was also a brilliant thing. I don't think it was me because I missed that part. So it must have been T.
Yeah,
anyway.
The idea was it sounds like a marriage in the Fae world lasts a day between two nights, which sounds like a night, a day, a night. But T interpreted it as a day in which you spend between two nights, like, like knighted armor.
I was dying.
And that I was like, oh, that's what the marriage means. Okay. That was an amazing interpretation. So,
yep.
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn. I'll talk a little bit about my gaming. Last night, I ran a one-shot of Winter's Daughter by Gavin Norman, which is an adventure for Dolmenwood. And it is one of my all-time favorite module-y kinds of pre-written adventures because it's a fairy tale love story. And it's really well written, and you don't have to play it with combat-y or whatever. And, it's got just like everything Dolmenwood, beautiful art, evocative English folk fairy tale setting. It is OSR, which I love, and I know that's not everyone's jam, but I think it's just magnificent. It's one of the greatest modules ever. So if you want to do that, I recommend it. I have been doing duets with it's so wonderful to live with a game designer person, right? I live with Helena Real. She's the co-designer of Dungeon World 2. It's my fiance. So we play games together a lot. We have 2 ongoing duets. She's running me through Monster of the Week, and I'm running her through Thirsty Sword Lesbians, and it's magnificent. I played Lichcraft and Cantrip as one-shots with Donna in the past couple weeks, and those were a lot of fun. Cantrip's a belonging, outside belonging style game. Very, very cozy and light, right? No heavy stakes like you might find in, Dream Askew or something. Lichcraft is a satirical game about trans healthcare in the UK. It takes so long to get it that the only way to succeed is to become a lich and live for several hundred years, right? Is the idea. So was fun, though sits a bit on the nose, so that was, and then of course we got to play in Dreaming Avalon, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also happy to say that I've set up an in-person trans-only RPG group that meets in my apartment every Saturday. So that's awesome in my new town. But the game I want to spend a little time talking about, and obviously I'm very biased and I don't care, is Dungeon World 2, which just released their beta. And, I'll tell you this. I love this game because I liked Dungeon World 1. Dungeon World 1 was the game that kind of brought me into the PBTA fold, right? It was 2014. I was playing D&D, and I wanted to know what else is going on out there. I'd been away from gaming for about 10 years for grad school, and apparently I missed the whole Forge experience. And so I was like, what's this? What's this Dungeon World? What's this Apocalypse World? What's all this about? And I caught an actual play of Dungeon World and got into it and loved it. And it was my doorway. It was my gateway drug, right? And I think Dungeon World is the gateway drug for was for a lot of people. And what I love about Dungeon World 2 is it's a significantly improved gateway drug. So if you are a PBTA diehard, you'll find things to like here because the moves are kind of significantly more up to date in style. And they take the lessons that PBTA designers have learned from the past 10 or 15 years. If you are somebody who's never played a PBTA game at all, there's enough meat and potatoes structure and terminology and kind of tone that you'll immediately recognize what's going on in the game if you're coming from Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, right? It's got your basic stats. It's got hit points. It's got advantage and disadvantage. It's got wizards and clerics and rogues and all the things you're familiar with. And there's, so on and so forth. However, when you actually play the game, it's all about found family. It's about bonds with other people. I just think it is really good. In fact, I'd say it's probably the best. A lot of people have been pointing at like a game like Daggerheart as the best game for the following purpose, but I think Dungeon World 2 is better. Dungeon World 2 is the best game to use when conducting an intervention for your D&D friends. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
you're like, we need to help you. We're here to help you. Sit down and get your 2 6-sided dice, and we're going to do something to help you. Okay.
Thank you very much for doing the call because I mean, like, you like, please just get them away from the poly, set and just get into the 2d6. It's like, it's a little gentler. Okay. I mean, like, you're okay. That's all you need at this point.
Exactly. And well, I mean, technically to run Dungeon World 2, you also need a few other dice for other things because that's a leftover. That's one of the leftovers they brought from Dungeon World 1.
Okay.
There still can be abilities. For example, the rogue, when the rogue does something roguey, they can cheat because that's what rogues do. They cheat. So they get to roll a D6 and a D8 for a couple of their special moves.
But that makes so much sense, though. I mean, that's not arbitrarily, all right, you're going to roll a D8 because it's a D8. I mean, I like that.
Well, this is what I love about this game is that the moves reinforce the fiction in a way that I wish more games did, right? These are moves where doing the move or using the mechanic feels like doing the thing in the fiction, right? And I think that's wonderful and really enjoyable. For example, the magic system is, Helena is often inspired by older games that, these young whippersnappers nowadays don't know about. So the magic system is her homage to Ars Magica, which is a very open-ended creative magic system. So in this, what you do is you have a list of nouns and verbs that are associated with the different schools of magic. So it's like 2 verbs and 2 substances per school of magic. So when you do a spell, you pick 1 verb and 1 substance, and then you just describe how they combine to create the effect you're going for. And then the GM decides what magnitude that would be, right? And there's a pretty clear description, like if it's a momentary effect or if it's an ongoing effect, if it affects one person or multiple people, if it affects one spot or an area, if it's does low damage or high damage, things like that, right? Each of those raises it a magnitude. And each magnitude raised is a -1 on your roll penalty.
Mhm.
So if you're rolling 2d6 + 2, but you're trying to do something fancy, you're going to be rolling with like a -3 or 4. And the thing is, inspired by good old sword and sorcery sorts of games and lore and settings, there's costs. Like magic's risky and it's scary. To roll a miss can be a little more dangerous than some other things, like missing when you're swinging your sword. So I think that's magnificent myself. I've played it a few times and it's just so much fun to on the fly create what you want this magical effect to be. And it's really and I think that this is something that's really going to scratch a particular itch for kind of hardcore gamer types, but it's also really great for newbies because I don't know about you, but when I'm running a game for a new person, I very often, they'll be like, well, I don't know how to do stuff. And I'll say, just describe what you want to happen and I'll tell you.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's exactly how the magic system works. It's just, well, tell me what you want to do. Like, that you can, you're an evoker. You can create an elemental effect. Name one. Tell me what you want to do. Go for it. Go wild. And I just love games that invite people to and incentivize creativity like that.
Mhm.
And so that's just so much fun. That's just for example. Right? So, it's one of the first PBTA games I've ever seen that's designed to really robustly support long campaign play. Because I've played Dungeon World many times, and for me, especially when you're rolling, you get a point for missing, you get a point or two, of XP at the end of each session for hitting your goals or whatever. You level up pretty quickly or get advances pretty quickly. And I played for maybe 7 or 8 sessions and I was already like level 6 or 7. I'd level up almost every session. And by the time you get to in almost any Dungeon World 1 class, by the time you get to level 7 or 8, you're kind of out of stuff to do. Right? You've chosen all the moves you like, you've boosted your stats. It's like, okay, it's just kind of samey after this. And so that's just like 6, 7 sessions, and you've kind of done it. You've done it. You can play it again with a different class. You can do different adventures with different people and different relationships, of course. But like the game, you've done the game, right? But they actually technically under the hood, you could play Dungeon World and level up to 20 because they have this path system and they have a robust system for multi-classing, so to speak. So you can mix and match and do all kinds of interesting things. And they figured out ways to do it that don't have like runaway bonuses and HP and stuff. So it's like, oh, this actually works. If you want to play this for 6 months, it can sustain it and it's still interesting. And that's not many rules light games can do that. So that's pretty cool. And that is one of those other things that's going to hook D&D people. Because like one thing that D&D people don't often jive with, so to speak, or vibe with when they come over to story games and indie games is, what do you mean? That's it? Like I wanted to play this 5-year long campaign where it's like, well, no, I don't want to do that. I've got a life, but here, we'll do this for 3 months. Maybe that'll satisfy you. And Dungeon World 2 can do that. So do you have any questions about that, or shall we move on?
I mean, you just made it sound so exciting that it's like, I'd like to see,
The beta's out there for free if you want to go take a look at it.
I will. I mean, I have never actually played Dungeon World myself. I mean, like, I've played a lot of different PBTA games, but I've never played Dungeon World. So.
I'll warn you in advance. The first one was so much like D&D that like it was the kind of thing that people would play it as their first game, but then they're like, oh, I don't play Dungeon World anymore. Hit points are a retrograde design. I need to play with conditions or something. It's like, yeah, it still has hit points. You still roll for damage or whatever, but it's still a pretty good game.
Okay.
All right. I really love what you're saying about the mechanics reinforcing the fiction. I mean, like, that's something that's like huge for me in games. That's why I love Forged in the Dark games so much. I feel like that's something that Blades does really well. It's something I tried to do in Bump, and I think that the best PBTA games do that. Probably the vast majority of PBTA games do not, but the best ones do. In such this just like, and I love PBTA. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying that as someone who absolutely loves PBTA. But like the way, Dungeon World 2, it sounds like the way Apocalypse World works, like that tightness. I love to see that, and I wish that more games had that.
100%. So, we'll move on to segment 2, Giving Me Life. For this segment, we ask everyone to talk about something they're really digging right now, and why, game or otherwise. So, Jex, what's giving you life right now?
Yeah, if I may, I have 2 really quick things and then 1 longer thing.
Mhm.
One, my daughter has been getting into like wanting to play D&D, and but she doesn't she hasn't played. We haven't played actual Dungeons and Dragons. She doesn't really know all the particularities of the rules, so she pretty much just makes up stories and asks us questions, and sometimes we roll dice, and it's just like, I love it so much. It's so great. So that's been really giving me life. I've also been getting back into playing music with other people for the first time since, I was going to say the pandemic, but even before then, because like it was like when I went to grad schools when it kind of ended. So the first time in like 10 years, I'm like actually like playing music with other human beings, and that's really been great. The final thing that's really giving me life right now is the anticipation I have for watching Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma by Jane Schoenbrunn, which has opened broadly, I think, this week, but comes here in Milwaukee on the 21st. This will be the first time I'm seeing a movie on like opening night in forever, as long as I can remember. I love Jane Schoenbrunn stuff. They are just such an incredible singular filmmaker. I love We're All Going to the World's Fair. I saw the TV Glow, was devastating in the best ways, made me ask some questions about my gender identity that I thought were answered and realized weren't. But so I don't think I've been this excited for a movie, and I don't know how long. And we're going to be there opening night, watching it on the really nice screen in the old kind of classic style movie theater. So very excited for it.
Me too. Mads, what about you? What's giving you life?
I just wanted to make a mention of this since you mentioned the Going for Broke series earlier. It's so funny because my son has been trying his hand at running some games, and he picked up the Doctor Who role-playing game. I think it's edition 2 or something. And then he was going to continue on with the one game that he had kind of went on hiatus for a little bit. But then I forget exactly how we got on the subject, but I started describing the Going for Broke game that we did, and he was like intrigued. So then he asked me to bring out the cards, and we ended up playing it with my family, and my husband and my son are just hilarity personified, because they just started going off and back and forthing each other with being the goofy, I forget who they played, but anyway, they were just intensely goofy. It was like watching a PG version of Young Ones, honestly. And I was my character, but I mean, I was doing nothing. I was just watching them, because what are you going to do? You just got to watch them play. It was just like, oh my God. Somehow we solved how we were going to get money. But I mean, again, that was just hilarious. And I enjoyed that so much. What else is giving me life? I'm one of the contributors to the upcoming Ruin anthology, where several designers and writers and artists have pitched in to create new content for Trophy Dark and Trophy Gold. And that hopefully will be coming out this fall. I mean, very excited about that. So I have a Trophy Dark incursion in there. And then I also joined 2 jams, which hopefully I'll be able to finish the games that I said I'm going to do for them. So one is the Romantasy Jam, which ends, I believe, at the end of this month. And then the other one is Minimalist TTRPG Jam number 5, I guess, is the 5th time that they've been doing it. And I believe that ends, I think, in November. So we'll see. And then the one that's really giving me life for gaming right now is, again, playing in the Midnight of the Century's new series, because initially I was playing in the first series with Donna and Lowell, Donna running and then Lowell being my co-player. And it was going well until the end, because the dice hated us. So our characters did not make it, tragically. But I think now it's kind of like doing like True Detectives, where like new series, but in the same world, and we have new investigators. And I'm playing a dead person. Yay. It's great.
Oh, that's
Donna's
amazing.
really good at that sort of anthology style play.
Yeah.
That's a real strength. I am so excited for Ruins.
Me
I'm
too.
super stoked for that.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, and everybody has done such great work for, like, all the incursions, and then Brian Sago, like, doing the art. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. So if you've, like, followed the updates on the Kickstarter, I mean, it's just incredible. So looking forward to seeing it for sure.
Oh, me too. Me too. Did I get to play in a playtest of that incursion?
Let's see. Mine was the Sanguine Mantle's Progress. So I'm
Yes, I
trying
think
to-
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I died.
So trophy dark.
Oh no,
Like,
it's great.
never lets me down.
Yeah.
Intended outcome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it was 100% one of the other players, so it was fun times.
Of course it is, and it's like, that's kind of where we lead into it. It's like,
That's trophy.
Yep, that's trophy.
So for me, what's giving me life? It's funny that Jex, you mentioned Sex and Death in Camp Miasma, because 100% I'm looking forward to that. But I actually had chosen to write down. I moved to Halifax, Nova Scotia a few months ago, and I've discovered that there's a little bitty indie theater here called the Carbon Arc, which my partner and I have seen a bunch of great movies. Forbidden Love is a documentary about the history of lesbians in Canada. It's amazing. Made in the 90s. Highly recommend it. I Love Boosters. Got to see that. That was a lot of fun. Oh, Boots Riley's amazing. We're going to go see a Mary Oliver documentary about the poet Mary Oliver this weekend, which I love. But I wanted to call out, if you haven't seen this movie and you really like the vibe of teenage sex and death at Camp Miasma, I recommend a movie called Camp by Avalon Fast, a queer woman, Canadian woman director. And Camp is a sapphic surreal horror. So it's like witchy, it's very kind of weird and psychedelic and surreal. And some people have branded Avalon Fast's films as girl horror, as that very distinctively sapphic, and not just sapphic romance, but like the experience of being a young woman or a young femme. And I really do think those are great. So check out Avalon Fast. And I want what I want. And I might just go design that one myself, because that's how it goes. I want a game that captures that feel, right? What I would love to hear, if people know about games that are good for playing, that evokes. I saw the TV Glow. And I know that, there's public access can do the surreal TV show part of it. I'm talking about the gender and relationship part of it. So I want my surreal sapphic horror gender bending experiences in my games. And I need that more. That's what's giving me life. So listeners, that's our show. I'll now invite our guests to tell us where they can be found. Jex, would you like to go first?
Yeah, you can find me primarily on Blue Sky at lastpinepress.com, and pretty much everywhere else, Jex J. Thomas, including Itch, where you can find my games. I'm also trying out that RPG Trader, which is kind of the new site. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. And Mads, what about you?
Yeah, again, Mads, they, them, and you can find me essentially as Madeline Collie on YouTube, Blue Sky, and Itch. So come and check out the channel. Again, I have like plenty of playlists for different variety of games, as well as like, a playlist of where I appear on other people's channels for other games. So it's a lot of fun.
And I'm Gwen Marshall, she, her, and I am Dr. Gwen Marshall at most things. So on Blue Sky, on Itch, and so on and so forth. All right, so I will close with these words. The Open Hearth Podcast is a production of the Open Hearth Gaming Community. We have an online gaming calendar where folks can sign up for sessions. If you've enjoyed this show, consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/openhearthgaming.com. We have a Discord. We are on Blue Sky, Tumblr, Mastodon, Dice Camp, etc. You can find out more about all of that at openhearthgaming.com. Please consider rating, subscribing, and reviewing our show. It really helps us out. So thanks once more to Jex and Mads, and to the whole Open Hearth community. I'm Gwen. That's our show. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.